Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude, Pascal.
What's up? Listen, guys, it has been a wild couple of days revolving around this Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf case. Now, we already know that there was a protest that happened yesterday. And for those of you guys who don't know what's going on, I highly recommend you guys go check out all the videos I did yesterday revolving around the protest that went down yesterday in regards to people who were there in solidarity for justice for Austin Metcalf and people that were there for justice for Carmelo Anthony. Yes, there were two opposing sides in the same place at the same doggone time. But I mean, you could basically say that there was roughly like 60 people in total in that area. So it wasn't really that big of a protest, to say the least. Okay, it was minimal. All right, for what it's worth. Okay, but nonetheless, Jeff Metcalf has some things to say about this whole situation. Now, I'm just playing a little clip of this because this happened yesterday. The organizer of the Protect White Americans movement, okay, the original reason why there was a protest in the first place yesterday, he had a conversation with Jeff Metcalf, Austin Metcalf's father, on the phone at the protest, near the end of the protest. And I have got to play a little bit of this so that you guys can see exactly what Jeff Metcalf had to say to Jake Lang.
Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in an individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at this point? God rest the beautiful young man's soul that would have been one of our strongest voices if he was still alive today.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any.
That's called white guilt.
No, let it talk. Of my son. Let me finish.
Okay, now I've already played this a billion times in a live, and I also did this on another video, listening and watching this whole thing in its entirety. I highly recommend you guys go and check it out when you get a second. But you hear Jeff Metcalf himself say to Jake Lang verbatim, "You have no right to do this. We are not backing this. We do not condone what you are doing here, okay? We are not behind what you're doing at all whatsoever. Take my son's face and his name, his likeness off of these protests. Stop using my son as a mascot, as an icon for this whole situation." And I got to be honest, I approve this message, okay? And there's a lot to say. That shows a lot, especially when it comes to this whole situation, okay? Because a lot of people have been on either one side or the other, and we have already talked about that, okay? But nonetheless, it shows where he stands, at least where he stands. And he's not giving this particular group, or any group, okay, for that matter, his son's likeness to spread hate or to continue pushing division. Let's be real, all right? But this guy, Jake Lang, goes even further. It's very interesting. You know, he still was out here putting out all kinds of stuff. There was video of him actually breaking into the stadium, okay, and going to the actual crime scene. I'm not kidding, okay, where he's at the crime scene showing like, oh, see, see, it's, you know, his blood is still on the ground, right? Let's take a look at this.
Stadium. There's the blood stain. There is the blood stain. It's red still. Austin Metcalf's blood. Lord Jesus, help us. It's crying out for justice. His killer is home right now. I got to get out of here before the police come. I just hopped the fence to get in here. His blood is crying out for justice. We need that killer behind bars. We will not rest. We need to protect white Americans. This scourge of black violence is too much.
Now, let me just say this really quick, okay? Clearly, this guy has his own agenda, all right? He's trying to get a seat in the Senate. He's trying, you know, he's doing this. You know for a fact there's some other agenda aside from him actually just trying to get justice, okay? And also, is that really a stain? Is that really a blood stain, or is that another type of stain? You feel me? Like, could that just be a marking on the ground? Because why would everything else wash away but then that spot, right? Like, is this guy making this up? Like, take a good look at it, and you tell me, is that a blood stain or no? Okay, to me, it doesn't look like a blood stain to me. All right, especially with all the rain, etc., that's been going on. I'm telling you right now, everything else washes away except this one little mark. That doesn't make any sense. Again, I feel like this dude is just making things up to feed into the agenda that he's trying. He's on a campaign, guys. Okay, he has an agenda trying to get votes, and he's using this kid's face and his name as an opportunity to push his name out there for whatever reason he's trying to, for his own voting and his own political gain. Okay, let's keep it a bean. But at the same time, it's still not right for him to go and use this young man's likeness in the way that they are doing it. It's wrong. In my personal opinion, it's absolutely wrong. And then when you have the parents, or when you have the father basically go out of his way to say, hey, I am not okay with this situation. This is wrong. You should respect that. You should absolutely respect that. Leave it be. But unfortunately, that's not the situation here. They still were doubling down. This other guy that was actually at the situation, at the protest as well, it comes out and starts saying all kinds of BS as well. Basically saying like, oh, they were trying to ambush us. They're trying to make us look bad. They waited till after the protest to make us look like Boo Boo the Fool. But at the same time, maybe they just didn't want to interrupt your protest. Because again, let's not forget, you have the right to speak. But then it's like, hey, now I'm going to get an opportunity to tell you that I'm not okay with this. So stop using my son's likeness. Stop using my son's information, his name, his face as your icon. We are not okay with this. And I'm hoping if they try to continue using his name and his face, I'm hoping they get hit with a lawsuit. Because at the same time, if they ask them politely, don't use his likeness, they should respect that and not use his likeness. But again, here's the other guy. He said some things here too, which is very interesting. And to me, it's like you just keep on trying to move the goalposts so you sound good and look good. At the end of the day, y'all looked like a damn fool. It was embarrassing. And the family is looking at you guys and saying, please leave our son alone. Leave our son out the group chat. Let's take a look at this. I'm not playing this whole thing. I may do this as a live later on, later on today. But I just wanted to play a few, like a minute of this because he starts off with this BS. Take a listen.
So I'm going to tell you all right now, ignore the people that rushed to attack me and Jake Lang. They have personal beef with us in the past, and they're using this to attack us for other reasons that they're not being honest with you about. So ignore that. We're going to give you the full story right now of what went down yesterday, where we had a peaceful protest against anti-white racism and violence. Now, we went there and we had a peaceful protest, and we're doing everything we were supposed to do. And because Jeff Metcalf, Austin Metcalf's father, saw the poster and it says protect white Americans, he says, okay, I don't like the way that sounds, so I'm going to send my handler. I'm going to send my handler to attack, destroy, and humiliate these people. Not to have a good faith conversation, not to say, hey, just want to let you know respectfully, there's some things that I don't want you to do. If you had come to us, at the beginning of the protest and said, there's a certain things I don't want you to say, then that would have been fine. That would have been cool. You didn't do that. You sent your handler in to try to destroy us, and you had him wait until the very end of the protest after we said everything, after we did all the speeches, all the interviews, wait till then, and you sent him in to destroy us. That's what you tried to do.
Okay, now here's the thing. Let me be real, all right? Maybe the father didn't know about it until it actually was going down. Maybe he didn't catch wind of the situation until the whole thing actually started to commence. And maybe he sat there and said, hey, let's just see what they got to say. They're on top of a doggone bus. Let's be real. They're on top of a doggone bus. So again, it's like, all right, they're doing their speeches. They're exercising their First Amendment. They have every right to do that, whether I like it or not, whether I agree with what they're saying. Doesn't matter. That's their legal right. That is their right as an American citizen. Speak, say what you want to say. Talk your talk. But as soon as it got over, It's like, hey, here's an opportunity. He's here. Let's have this conversation. And then the guy said, hey, I'm not okay with what you guys are saying. I'm not okay with what putting my son's name and his face on all your flyers and putting this whole protect white Americans thing. He's not okay with that. Regardless, if he was to turn to you and say, hey, if he was to say what he said to you earlier, would you have still gone on with your protest? You probably would have said the same doggone things that you were saying during your protest. Nothing would have changed. Okay. Nothing would have changed. In my personal opinion, nothing. But again, like I said, this is just my opinion. This is just what I think. And at the end of the day, for you to sit there and say, oh yeah, they ambushed you. Where was the ambush? In fact, you ambushed the family by taking their son's likeness and plastering it all over flyers and stuff and saying, we're doing this whole thing to protect white Americans from black people. That's what you did. You ambushed the family without even asking for their consent, without asking for their blessing, without asking them, hey, we'd like you to be there. Maybe you guys can be there to speak on behalf of the whole situation. You didn't check in with him. You didn't check in with the family. So again, what are they doing wrong? Family isn't doing anything wrong. They got a hold of you and they said what they needed to say. Okay. And also the other thing is too, how are you getting ambushed when the actual protest was done? You were already done speaking and then they had a conversation with you. So where's the ambush? The ambush would have been if he came in and interrupted the whole doggone protest while you're in mid-sentence on the mic. That would have been the situation. That would have been an ambush in my personal opinion. That's not an ambush. What happened? What happened is it's embarrassing. Y'all are embarrassed. It looked like a damn SNL skit, for crying out loud. That's what happened here. Let's get into this article. Okay, guys. Again, like I said, the father is not happy with how that protest was even made. He's not okay with it. He is angry about this, and I understand why. Okay. He even says he's trashing the Protect White American protesters who held the rally for slain teen. He says they don't even give an ish about my family. And he even said even more. They don't give an ish about my family or the Carmelo Anthony family. And that's true. This guy was there, in my personal opinion, for his own political reasons. He had his own political agenda and he's trying to get some votes. Okay. And he thinks that by standing behind this slain young man, he can get some votes and get some looksy-loos in his general direction. And that is a very sad thing. Okay. And then also on top of that, in the video, in the phone conversation that we all saw, how he reacts to the slain boy's father, how he even reacts is deplorable. Okay. No person, no political person, no person that's trying to take a political seat, okay, out here reacts or speaks to a grieving father or a grieving parent in the way that he did. You just don't do that. It's disgusting. It was wrong. And I feel like he canceled himself, for crying out loud. But let's get into this, okay? The father of slain teen Austin Metcalf slammed protesters who held a rally against his son's accuser, okay, or son's accused unaliver, I'm sorry, calling them race baiters who wanted to spew their narrative for their own agenda. And I absolutely 110% agree with that, okay? They weren't there for justice. They were there to just stir the pot and get his name out there. That's what he was there for, okay? But moving on. The dad, Jeff Metcalf, spoke to the Post, okay, the article we're reading here on Saturday, hours after a group of demonstrators gathered at the stadium where Carmelo Anthony, okay, allegedly took the life of Austin Metcalf, all right, at this track meet in Frisco, Texas. Organizers from a group called Protect White Americans condemned local authorities for supporting what they called anti-white hate and anti-white violence by releasing Carmelo Anthony, who is black, on bond. And we've already talked about him, about the release, the dropping of the bond. You know, it went from $1 million down to $250,000, etc. We already talked about all that, and at nauseum. Okay, and again, if that's what he was granted, that's what he was granted. Okay, but there was a little bit of violence. There was a little bit of a hiccup there. Somebody got sprayed in the face with pepper spray. People got arrested. And all that stuff. Okay. In fact, this particular person had a knife on their body. Okay. They had a knife on them. All right. And again, this is school property. So I'm wondering the fact that they had a weapon on school property. And it's interesting that it's a knife when the knife is the same weapon that took the life of Austin Metcalf, and this particular person is there with a knife as well. It's a very wild and ironic situation, but this is very sad no matter what. And this particular person is going to be looking at some possible serious charges here for having that weapon on school grounds. But moving on, of course, we already know that this is Jeff Metcalf. All right. But again, that's all they are. This is what he says. Continuing, that's all they are. Race baiters. This is what Jeff Metcalf said. OK, effing people that want to spew their narrative for their own agenda. They don't give an ish about my family, about Carmelo Anthony's family. Protect White Americans was founded by Jake Lang, which we just saw. The same dude who's sitting there saying there was red on the stained concrete at the track, which didn't look like that at all. Looked like rust. Okay, but again, you tell me if that was actual blood or not. You tell me. But anyway, he's been out here. All right. He's the one who founded this Protect White Americans. All right. He is a self-styled political prisoner who was arrested during the January 6th protest and is now running for a U.S. Senate from Florida, or a Senate seat from Florida. Metcalf said Lang invited him to speak at Saturday's rally, trying to win over with statistics about Black violence and White Lives Matter rhetoric. I said, you, sir, are a part of the problem. You are not a part of the solution. I don't want anything to do with you. This is what he said. He demanded Lang to remove photos of his son from the Protect White Americans website and event flyers. He plans to complain to the school board for granting protesters access to the stadium parking lot. He said, I want the superintendent to explain to me how you let this white piece of trash, on school property where my son was unalived less than 2 weeks ago. Yet demonstrators insisted they were on the side of the Metcalf family. Okay. And again, I mean, you tell me what side what side were they really on? Okay. But they're peeing on Austin Metcalf's grave because he's white. If he was black, they would not be pissing on his grave, said a featured speaker. This is what Philip Anderson, which we just saw his face, okay, in this particular video here. This is Philip Anderson here, okay? He is basically saying, that's what he was basically saying, okay? While cops separated the two sides, yet two people were arrested, including a woman who allegedly pepper sprayed a protester in a Trump hat, okay, or in a MAGA hat, all right? Some witnesses said the man, Austin Hunter, the guy who was actually pepper sprayed right here, who I think may have been drunk as well. I don't know, okay? But they're saying he physically threatened the woman, all right? Others said that they were just arguing, but Hunter plans to press charges. He even said himself he was going to do that. But again, as you guys see, Austin Metcalf's father is not playing, okay? He literally said multiple times, guys, please understand that we are not here to turn this into a race thing. And I know everybody's trying to, there's so much conversation and there's so much debate going on back and forth about everything, about whether this is, who started the race thing and all that. I don't know. All I know is the internet has been going crazy about the race thing for sure. And now you literally have protests that happened yesterday that specifically are motivated by race. All right. Protect white Americans from Black Americans kind of thing. Violence from Black people. I mean, it's insane. That is definitely race related for sure. It's unfortunate because at the end of the day, we should be looking at this and trying to find out what actually happened here, looking at the evidence and let the evidence speak for itself on whether or not Carmelo Anthony should be seeing the rest of his life behind bars or not. That's what we should be looking at. But unfortunately, we don't live in that world. Not right now, at least. But again, this particular guy, this Jake Lang, really used this opportunity, or at least he tried. Okay, let's be real. He tried it, okay? But he tried to make this situation be a thing. And it wasn't because he wanted justice. At least that's not the vibe I got. I'm with Jeff Metcalf on this. He was using this as an opportunity for his own agenda, to get his name out there, get some more votes, even if it is 1 or 2. But he was trying to make waves. And he's trying to use this young man's face, his name, his likeness for his own political agenda. That's sad, y'all. And very unnecessary. But what say you guys? Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Jeff Metcalf is calling them white trash. There's some wild stuff, y'all. Again, hey, I appreciate Jeff Metcalf for speaking out in that phone call and basically saying, I condemn all of this. Don't you dare use my son's name and his face on your stuff. I don't stand for it. My family doesn't stand for it. And this is not what this case is about. And I appreciate that. And I think we all need to remember that too. Keep that in our back pocket while we figure out what actually happened here and get the evidence and let the evidence speak for itself. But like I said, I've said that a million times before. So let me know your thoughts. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, okay? Hit that like button down below. Crush that subscribe button. We'll talk here soon, okay? There's more, I'm sure, that's going on with this Metcalf and Anthony case. We will be talking about it for sure, all right? But anyway, it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.
Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.